million pounds at £10 an hour, there'd be 1 million hours of labour. Now, look at this. The apparent value added, okay, here we have a profit of 20 with 2 million hours of labour, okay. Now, this means that we also have a profit plus variable capital of 40, okay, which means that 2 million hours of labour are going to be producing profit plus variable capital. In other words, the so-called value added at the rate of £20 an hour. The highly labour-intensive sector will produce value added at a lesser rate, and the high organic composition of capital sector will produce value added at a higher rate, okay, nearly twice as high as the lower organic composition of capital. Again, this is simply on the basis of the same rate of surplus value. I haven't changed the rate of surplus value, and yet the apparent profit-based productivity of labour is markedly different between the different sectors. So now we come to the issue of value created versus value added. Value created is the new value created by living labour through the expenditure of labour power. In our example, we had a rate of surplus value of 100% and at a wage rate of £10 an hour, £20 million would set in motion labour power for 2 million hours and would create £40 million of value. So it costs the capitalist 20 million, rate of exploitation of 100%, they're going to produce 40 million. Okay. And similarly, if you set in by labour power worth 10 million, it's going to be working for 1 million hours, during which time the labour will create 20 million of simple value. Right. Now, what is value added as distinct from value created? It's the share of the total surplus value in proportion to the capital advanced. So it's the profit plus the labour cost in that sector. So in our example, we've got a rate of profit across the board of 20%. We've got a cost of labour of £10 an hour, but the variations come by sector. So in sector 1, we've got a cost of labour of 20, and we've got a profit of 20. In sector 2, we again have a profit of 20, but labour costs 30. So the so-called value added in sector 2 is £50 million. However, the hours worked are much greater. Therefore, that's why the value added per hour is less, and contrary-wise there in sector 3. So how do these concepts relate? The price of production in a sector is the cost of production, which is the used up constant capital and the variable capital, plus the average rate of profit times the capital advanced, not the capital used up, but the capital advanced. And the value added in a sector is the price of production less the constant capital used up. So we can reduce this then. What is value added is the variable capital which has been used up plus the average rate of profit times the capital advanced. Now, this is maybe extremely sort of like abstract point, but to really try to bring it home, what this result means is that what's understood as value added in a sector increases as wages increase, because it will increase according to the variable capital in that sector, and it will also increase according to how much capital has been advanced in that sector. So it doesn't express the socially necessary labour time expended in the sector, right? It no longer holds that prices of production, when you have prices of production, it no longer holds that the value is expressed as exchange value. There's a rupture between value and exchange value. What it does express, as I've just mentioned, is the wage rate in the sector and the capital advanced according to its organic composition, right? So value added is not a measure of value. It's an indicator, on the contrary, of capital's domination over labor. This is the light is bent to such a degree that it's almost going in the opposite direction because the mass is so great to bend it so completely. Now, this train of thought is stronger in the French literature than it is in English, right? And what we've got is it's more than what I was saying before. It's not only that there's a differential realization of value created, there's a differential expression of value as exchange value. And this is a complete distortion. It's a complete rupture and inversion of our idea of value as socially necessary labor time, right? The way that value is expressed as exchange value is not the way it's understood in terms of simple value. And this is quite a major result. Marx's transformation implies a differential expression of commodity values in proportion to the capital advanced in their production, rather than their socially necessary labor time. Okay, so this is quite a fundamental sort of like flip, if you like. Now, the flip is objective. It's not a trick. Well, it is a trick, but it's more than just a trick, right? What it is, it's how the inner nature of value production appears in the capitalist mode of production, and they're in contradiction with each other. There's a contradiction between value and exchange value. The contradiction is because that the commodity is a product of capital as well as a product of labor. And it's a reconfiguration of our hitherto understanding of how commodity of value is expressed as exchange value. And the reason is because it's not in a capitalist mode of production where capital dominates labor, value is drawn from labor, but it's value for capital. The commodities are a means of expansion of capital, and it's that which dominates. This contradiction will not go away. I mean, it's inherent in the capitalist mode of production. Now, this is before we've introduced the dynamic which we did introduce last time, which is differential rates of surplus value. Now, if we just think of the way we're talking about value added, what we've got is the more exploited labor is in any given sector or region, the less it apparently contributes to value added. I mean, that's a complete somersault result to our understanding of the law of value. And this result does have contradictory effects because, of course, if labor is more exploited in one sector, then it does increase the overall surplus value and raise in general terms the rate of profit. But even so, that won't counteract sufficiently the fact that the value added in this sector will have been reduced. So is this just one huge paradox? No, it's not only a paradox, it's a living contradiction. And in what I've been speaking about, I am also responding to John Smith's contributions over the last few years now. What John's work has done is reopened in the contemporary context of globalized production, China being the workshop of the world, and so on, the question of value added and value capture. And he's reopened the question of labor superexploitation, which is to be welcomed. Now, the issue is unpacked a bit more in the contribution I'm offering today, right? Which is we have value created in the realm or domain of value and surplus value, and we have value added, which is cost and profit.